You have one new message. Translating. Disney and Pixar's Hoppers is now available on Disney+.
You could say that again.
Critics are calling it Pixar's funniest movie ever and a wildly entertaining ride. Blizzard Potato. It's certified fresh and verified hot.
Now we party.
This is incredible!
Wow, I am clearing the rest of the day.
Disney and Pixar's Hoppers, now available on Disney+. Rated PG.
This episode is brought to you by Prime. What if you had one more chance with the one that got away?
Sam, you came home.
Based on the best-selling novel from Carly Fortune. Every Year After follows childhood friends Sam and Percy as they reunite in the dreamy, nostalgic lakeside town of Barry's Bay.
Love can be hard to find. So if you're lucky enough to find that person, never let go.
A second chance at first love. Every Year After, now streaming only on Prime.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Hey, this is Jennifer Benson with the band Ignescent with Jay Scott at the Hook Rocks.
I roll with no concern, which bridge to cross and which bridge will burn. By now, should have been gone, they should have carved my stone, but it ain't my turn. Hey, Ghost Rider, pedal down my feet to the fire. Ride on wherever I go, I don't ever ride alone. Oh, are you keeping me from going down forever till the road runs out? Ghost Rider. Is it you who pulls the
Good evening,
strings?
everyone. Welcome back. It's Jay Scott. It's the Hook Rocks, the ultimate rock community podcast. Hope you're all doing well out there. We are in the last days of summer. Labor Day weekend is here. It's upon us. That's probably when everybody kind of closes out their patios and barbecues and looks forward to the weather getting a little more crisper and a little bit more colder. But hey, man, it's been a great summer. It's been like that first summer in like 2-3 years that we've actually had a summer without a lot of restrictions, if any. And there's been a lot of live shows, a lot of rock concerts that we've been going to. I was just at one last night. I saw Scorpions with Thunder Mother. Thunder Mother was just absolutely incredible. Scorpions are who they are, man. One of the best in the biz. It was a great show to see, and look forward to more shows coming up this fall. Don't forget, we are part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, the great network of music-related podcasts. You can check out a lot of my friends on that network, like Vinny Appice and Carmen Apice on the Hangin' and Bangin' podcast, Martin Popoff, the rock historian, the legendary DJ Mistress Carrie, Chris and Aaron on Decibel Geek, and Tom and Zeus on the #1 rated KISS podcast in the land. Check out all the great podcasts on Pantheon at Pantheon Pods. Search them up on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and also search up the Hook Rocks wherever you podcast. You can download the app and get all the greatest new episodes and all the greatest old episodes right to your phone, and give them all a listen. We've had some great guests on the podcast, on the show recently. We just had Ignescent, Jennifer Benson, the Chicago-based hard rock band. We just did a live album review of UFO Strangers in the Night. We celebrated our 300th episode with Stephen Piercy from Rat, and The Warning, the great new band from Monterrey, Mexico, which is just wrapping up their tour with Hailstorm and Pretty Reckless. Got to check them out twice over the summer and spring. So they're a great new live band, so check them out as well. And many others, a lot of new music spotlights to check out, so please do so. And we've got a great new episode for you tonight. One of my favorite, you can't really say they're emerging rock band because I think they're more of an established band, but a lot of people consider anything within the last 10 years new, and that's cool too. But I like to welcome in guitar player, lead singer of the band Tyler Bryant and The Shakedown, Mr. Tyler Bryant. What's happening, man? How are you?
It's good to see you, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Man, it's good to have you back. You know, we talked last, I think it was end of 2020 when you just had the new album out.
Right.
And the world was kind of in shambles. We were all trying to figure out what everyone's doing. And we all made it through somehow, some way. And the new music last year and now this year and now with your new album coming out, it's just been a great gift for music fans because there's been so much new music coming out, people being creative, people really kind of stretching themselves. And what's really cool about this new album is when you look at that album in 2020, it was a rock record.
Right.
This is more into the blues roots that we all know are very important to you and heavily influenced you and the band. And it was kind of cool to kind of have that dynamic, as we were in the pandemic and now coming out of it with, basically this is just a stripped down blues rock record.
Yeah, I know. There's a few burners on there for sure, but for the most part, we called it Shake the Roots for a reason. It was sort of, I think after the pandemic as well, stepping away from live music and touring and being away from the loudness of playing shakedown shows every night. I found myself more drawn to pick up a resonator and play some slide, Delta inspired blues, or like play like I used to love. I mean, I still love to hear Lightning Hopkins play, like so many great Texas blues artists that I grew up listening to. And, I think having so much time off the road, being forced to take that time really just kind of put me back in touch with so many of the, musical elements that I love so much. And originally, I called everyone in the band and was like, we should try to make a fully acoustic record, no electric instruments. But at the end of the day, as much as I want to flex the blues roots muscles, we are still the Shakedown. So the cookie crumbled as it would have, and we ended up with I feel like it's a pretty cool, well-rounded record. It's certainly very bluesy and certainly very rootsy, but our song Ghost Rider came out today, and that's about as heavy as the Shakedown's ever gone as well. So we tried to put something on there for everybody.
Whenever people deal with, tragedy or, an issue like a pandemic, right? Or, you're in your own self, you have, things that you're dealing with. We always do tend to go back to what's comfortable, right? We find peace and comfort. And, whether it's, for a lot of people, reading or exercise, some people, with music, in your case, it's music. And, your first influences are the blues,
Right.
And, that kind of comes back to that. You're sitting around, you're listening, you're going back to your roots, you're finding comfort again with kind of everything that's happening at the world at the time. Do you think that played into it at all?
Yeah, certainly. It's always great to play things that feel comfortable to you. I think one of the things that has always kind of bummed me out about a lot of modern blues music is that it does feel like it's just sort of trying to do the same thing that's already been done, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially if the thing that's already been done is amazing and incredible and you enjoy playing it again like that. With our past handful of albums, it's always been about making ourselves slightly uncomfortable, and pushing the limits of the songwriting and how are we, and we've always had this element of how are we going to pull this off live? And with this record, we kind of took that, we didn't take that completely out of the equation because we still like to take left turns in our writing and arrangements and stuff, but we did we did approach this like, cool, if all we had were these instruments and these microphones, what would it sound like? And there are certain songs on the record that they're just literally live performances, and they're moments captured. Like there's one song called Tennessee the song was written and recorded in an hour and then we're done. You know what I mean? It's not like it's a moment. And I think I enjoyed looking at this record sort of just like snapshotting musical pictures of moments.
Capturing that energy when you're recording a live performance is very ambitious, and it can also fall off the track pretty easily, right? I mean, it's a lot different than just recording, but it's also that energy is also created by that danger, right? I mean, that ability to kind of have it all collapse if it just doesn't work. That's got to be exciting for an artist like yourself, the band that's always looking for new ways to do things and a new perspective to do things.
I think so. I do love having that danger in rock and roll and any sort of like roots music that's got such is meant to have an authentic feel. It's nice to feel like the train could go off the tracks at any point. And it's so many, like I've been doing a lot of recording and producing, with other artists, and it's interesting how many people will stop if they mess up, and it's like trying to condition yourself to just embrace it and go, I kind of flubbed that note. Oops. And keep going, because really a lot of times the thing that you think is like this catastrophic event it might be someone else's favorite moment of the track. And just kind of embracing the fact that you're human and you aren't perfect and you're not Eddie Van Halen, but you're trying and you're having fun. And I think with this record, we really just wanted it to sound like people having fun. And when I listen to it, I have fun. And that's really just what I hope. I hope people turn it on and go, cool. This sounds like a band that I want to go see,
And even Eddie Van Halen said once, if you screw up, do it twice, so they think you meant to do it.
Dude, well, Jeff Beck told me that, but he told me to do it 3 times. So he's like, got him one up,
Isn't that indicative, though, what you said about people worrying about flubbing a note, indicative of where music is today? We all heard the stories about bands using tracks and all that kind of stuff and not essentially playing live. And it also falls upon the audience's responsibility that they want to hear close to perfection, right? But the foundation of rock is blues, and the elements of mistakes and the elements of imperfections are what make those two genres connected and also great. I mean, you think of guys like Jimmy Page, who, if you hear live bootlegs, with Zeppelin, which I have a lot of, you hear those imperfections, and that's awesome, right? That's great.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's awesome to be able to, if I listen to Jimmy Page, I can picture Jimmy Page, and it's sort of, I think we have gotten so used to perfect music. If you turn on the radio, almost every song you hear is going to be auto-tuned, or, the drums will be time aligned to a grid, or like all of this nerdy stuff. But after you hear enough of that, you start to get conditioned to it. And then when you hear if you hear an old Zeppelin record and it's just a couple dudes like swinging for the fence, all of a sudden you go, who are these larger than life characters? And because there is character to the performance and the personality. And I think that's always when it comes to making records in this modern age, it's always the temptation to try and fix something. And I think something that, and it's something that I struggle with. I don't have the answers, or, you might talk to me next year and I'll be like, dude, we made the drums perfect, because music is unpredictable and everyone has their own approach on it. Just the thing that made us feel excited was having these moments that felt kind of dangerous and kind of raw. And, I don't know. I just had a really good time doing it. And sometimes the more you dissect stuff, it starts to lose that initial feeling to me. And you end up trying to, me personally, I can't really speak for other artists. I know a lot of times when I try to make something more perfect than it is, I end up, like if I say there's a guitar solo, for example, and I play the solo and I play it 1 or 2 times, and then by time 60, I'm like, okay, this is it. And then I go back and listen to the first or second one that had all of my energy and intention, even if the ball didn't go over the fence, it at least went close to the outfield and I'm sprinting around the bases or whatever. Maybe I'm trying to fix something that wasn't really that broken, based on my own idea of what it should be, rather than just letting it be what it is.
I think that's really what distinguishes rock music, especially now, like what you said, because everything's auto-tuned, everything is perfect, you're conditioned in other genres. And what makes rock so unique now is because it still has what makes it great, is that energy. I mean, there's elements of rock music, let's not kid ourselves, that do fall in line with that auto-tune and tracks live. And it's disappointing when you hear that and see that, but hey, everyone has their reasons. But there's a large contingency of new emerging bands or bands like yourself that have been around for 10 years, like you guys, Blackberry Smoke, Rival Sons, these bands that really do it well, that have that element of danger and have that. And when you talk about where music is right now with a new album coming out next week, you always hear the stories of management companies, record labels talking about algorithms, right? The algorithms checked all our boxes and the algorithms did all this. And it's like, algorithms suck. Algorithms are destroying the soul of music and killing the wonder and discovery of music, is because everything, like you said, is becoming conditioned. And then when you hear this album, the way it starts off, and it's very authentic and it's very organic and it's very like, man, it's going for it. You realize why rock music, why blues, all that stuff that goes into it is still the greatest form of music out there.
Oh man. Well, it's certainly, I love rock and roll and I love blues. And, I don't want to sound like a curmudgeon here, because I do love a lot of modern music. And I think that there's, still, even there are certain bands that are, auto-tuning their music and making, and it's not detracting from their art. For us, it would detract from the art and the intention, which is for it to feel, our record literally starts with pots and pans. Like it's Caleb, we're looking for a certain sound, and Caleb's like pulls out the silverware drawer and is he's playing the silverware, and like, it's just, we're constantly looking for moments and trying to capture them, and if we miss it on one, then we move on to the next song, and, maybe we'll circle back, but you never know. It's really just like what feels exciting to us. And that's the thing, is all the songs on this record feel exciting to me. I know I'm pretty close to it. So the fact that I still like it means hopefully means that it's good. I really don't know. Like, all you can do is release it and hope someone else likes it,
No, it's good.
But I had fun making it, and I have fun listening to it. So I can sleep with myself at the end of the day and feel good about it.
Well, when you talk about that silverware and, the pots and pans, and you think back of those old days of the blues, the Robert Johnsons, and, the whole evolution of blues, and how it, it started and it was very primitive, right?
Right.
And when you're using silverware, pots and pans, I mean, that's primitive. That's just making music out of objects, right? I mean, that's what people used to do. And, when you think of the last record that you did, and into, Shake the Roots, was there, I mean, did it happen organically with the album, the direction that you wanted to go? Or, do you have a plan from, like, once you're recording the last album that's done, you already are thinking about this one? How does that work for you guys?
Well, pretty much as soon as we put out an album, there's this feeling, and I don't know how this is for other artists. I should probably ask a few of them, but there's this feeling that I always get. Once the album is released, it is exactly that. It feels like, okay, now this body of work is someone else's problem. And then it's always creatively inspiring me to release records, because then I'm not worried about those songs anymore. I can start making up new things. And so the process starts again. And I love the process probably even more than the release. I love working on the songs and working on the album. And, you know, I'm a full-time studio rat. I love being down here and tinkering with sounds and trying to find something that makes me want to close my eyes and dance around, you know? And, yeah, it's just, I don't know, that's the thing that gets me the most excited. So with this record, there was never like, I was actually joking about this with Graham the other day. I said, this is like the record that we finished that we never actually started. We didn't set aside a couple of weeks of time to work on the record. A lot of the songs happened when we'd be hanging out, not even intending to write or play. And next thing you know, we're hanging out. And over the past like couple years, I've sort of been setting my studio up to always be on. If there's a microphone, it can be turned on in a matter of seconds, you know, so the drums are mic'd up, the bass is ready, the guitar is ready, like wherever someone sits down, and if they get something going, it can be captured really quick. That's been the vibe that I've tried to create for myself, because I know that's how we work. Like if we're going to catch the thing, we got to be quick. And so with this record, a lot of the songs just happen based around like, we're hanging out. Next thing you know, there's a vibe. Next thing you know, there's you could call it a demo if that's your train of thought, which has been our train of thought in the past. With this record, we did not make demos. We just did the songs, you know what I mean? To where it's like the first time it goes down is the thing. Because in the past, a lot of times we'll make a demo, and then by the time the master recording is done, we think the demo is more exciting because it was rougher around the edges or whatever. So we've never tried it this way. It's a fun way to do it. But we set out to make a fully acoustic record, like I said earlier, and we actually did. We made that whole record. We have, you know, 10 or 12 other songs that are finished, mixed, and mastered that were for, you know, that thing. But there were a couple of standouts like Bare Bones and Tennessee that inspired me to keep writing, and Graham and Caleb to keep writing. And before you know, we had all these other songs, and we decided to start our own record label, and Shake the Roots was born.
When you write that initial first song, or the elements of the album begin, do all the songs more or less kind of go along with that sound, or that, you know, that creative process? Or is each song really its own? I mean, there could have been albums that are different. Some albums may just fit, and then some albums where each song takes on its own life. What was this one like, and how was it normally for you guys?
It's normally the song. It's normally all about the song. Like if the song calls for salt, then the song gets salt, you know. And I think that this record, just based on the headspace we were in, to me, it sounds pretty cohesive, aside from a couple other songs. But for example, like even one of the songs that we made a single, Ghost Rider, could have very well not, we could have very easily not put that song on the record. But we also were thinking about our live show in mind, going, man, all these people who love like heavy rock and shakedown, we got to give them something. We can't just be like, now here's all that rootsy blues we love, you know? And don't get me wrong, we love doing that kind of stuff. And I think we excel at it. You know, we are good at playing like heavy hitting rock music. So we tried to round it out, but for the most part, our headspace was really like just kind of catching that rootsy blues wave and riding it as far as we could. And the songs just kept happening, and we kept recording them. And then, like I said, there's a whole bunch of them that didn't even end up on this record. But that's the other thing that I'm excited about having our own record label. Cause, you know, I mean, the amount of sort of waste that you end up with as a writer and as an artist is pretty astronomical in this industry. And that's always bummed me out, especially when like my favorite artists, you know, if you look at how many records Elvis put out, or like even like a guy like Ben Harper, or, you know, there's so many artists that are constantly putting out music. And I've always aspired to be an artist like that. And we've always made the art, but we've never had the infrastructure to support that, you know?
I remember when we were talking on the last record, you guys recorded it basically in your studio in your house. And you did mention that you had enough for another album because you guys recorded so much. And now you mentioned the same thing. You've got other songs. I wanted to dive into that about going independent, going with your own record label, because, you know, that's a big step for a band who's kind of coming out of a label, who's kind of used to that type of mentality and used to kind of that commitment. And coming out of that, what was the thought process? I mean, you mentioned, you know, the reason about having, you know, more control over your art and being able to release it whenever you want to, you know, release it. That's great. But there also, you know, are there any other reasons why it was important for you guys to become independent?
Well, my wife is in a band called Larkin Poe, and I've been just sort of like a sideline spectator of watching her and her sister own their own record label. And I've just desperately longed to be like empowered by my own creations in that way and have more ownership over the music. You know, it's like we've had great experiences with record labels in the past. You know, we've had people who would bend over backwards, and I could probably still call a lot of them today, and they would be like, what can we do to help the Shakedown? Because they know, they believe in our drive and our work ethic, and we've had great relationships. You know, I'm really grateful for every record label that we've worked with. But I think that the Shakedown is far from institutionalized. You know what I mean? Like we've never been comfortable. We've never been like, okay, we've got all the pieces. It's always been like, what's next? What could we do better? And there's always something that you could do better. And I think for us, especially like I'm 31 years old, you know, Caleb, the drummer, has a 1-year-old. We do everything. You know, we do everything from, you know, I mean, at this point now we're hiring our own publicists, you know, we're obviously talking,
yeah,
you know, we're putting everything on the line for this. And the reason is because we want to have more ownership of our music, and we want our fans to know when they buy a record, it's going to support us on the road. It's going to support us making more records. It's going to because that's the thing that you don't realize whenever you our first like major label record deal, upon signing it, you're like, oh, this is everything that we could ever ask for. And I don't think a lot of artists really realize what they're giving away, you know, and just the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that I want to have more of the things that I used to give away. I think I owe that to myself. I think the band owes that to themselves. You know, it's the only way forward in my mind right now. And that's not to say that we won't sign a record deal in the future, but I think we would just regret it if we didn't try, you know. And we've got a great manager, and we've actually hired a lot of the people that we've worked with at record companies in the past. You know, the only difference is now we're paying for it rather than them paying for it. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, it's indicative of what's happening in the industry now. You don't need, or I shouldn't say you don't need, the record contract or the record deal that was 20, 30 years ago no longer exists, right? It just the way the music industry is now. The tour supports the album supports the tour, where it was vice versa, you know, years ago. And if you have more control over your stuff, and you have a team that believes in you and a cause, rather than a record label worried about an algorithm, worried about, you know, a single, not hearing a single on the album, it really kind of, you know, restricts you as the artist at what you can do. You mentioned like when you sign that deal, it's like, man, this is everything that you hoped it would be. And then reality sets in. And then all of a sudden that tone coming from the other side, not in all cases, maybe not in yours, but for a lot of artists, it's all of a sudden, it's no longer that feel good stuff that was before the signing. Now it's like, you know, I talked to Tuck Smith a few weeks ago, who had his record shelved that he spent, you know, a year and a half working at. I mean, that's,
yeah, dude, been there. It's a horrible feeling for an artist to experience. And it's, you know, I don't know why in the day and age where the artists have more power than they've ever had, you know, if I have a direct relationship with Shakedown fans, you know, like we did a YouTube premiere this morning and you're able to like actually say hello to people. And I go, oh, that's, you know, so-and-so from France. And, oh, this is Cynthia from Brazil. And like these, you know, you can't keep up with everybody, but I think that fans and artists have a direct line with social media. And I mean, why would you risk having someone else literally squash out your dream? You know, I just don't know why. And I know, and I say that, I mean, I probably would listen to myself talking and be like, because, and this is the constant like internal dialogue, because every record deal we had was a valuable stepping stone. You know what I mean? I don't regret any of them. It was we made great relationships. We learned something, even through the negative aspects, we learned something, you know, and we met a lot of great people that now I would consider huge assets for us moving forward. So yeah, it's just that, you know, there's no right or wrong way. It's just that there's a lot of ways to kind of skin that cat.
Well, it's got to be exciting on two fronts. You have this album. This is your first, you know, first independent on your own record label. And then the record label itself has to be exciting, right? It's like two different things that are going on at once that, you know, you've experienced obviously putting out a new album before. So there's always that excitement with that. But now this probably feels a little different because now it's like, you know, it's all Tyler Bryant The Shakedown. And you guys are determining a lot more of your next steps than probably more so than ever before, which is also exciting. So, you know, with this album and you look back at the albums that you've done, you've gotten to this point because of what you've done previously, and you have the ability to do that stuff. So to have this control now, with the new album, I mean, it's got to be exciting for you.
Yeah, it's certainly exciting, you know, and you know, at the moment, we don't have plans of bringing other artists onto the label. But I don't think that that's something that I think that door will open at some point. You know, I've been doing a ton of producing and engineering with other artists. You know, I just co-produced the new Larkin Poe record, which I'm thrilled about. And we recorded that, you know, here at my home studio, just the same way we did the Shakedown record. I just worked with this artist. I produced a song for this artist, Zach Person out of Texas. That's amazing. And, he just put that out. And then I've been finishing up this gospel, like low down, dirty gospel record with this artist named Frankie Ballard. And I've found that through, producing and engineering and working with these other artists, it's made me more excited about doing my own music. And I could totally see this thing snowballing into a record label that other artists are on, or a record label where, you know, if I ever want to make an acoustic record or what, you know, it's like just having the opportunity to put it out and having a team of carefully curated individuals who believe in it. Because that's another thing you think about. If you think about, say, you know, I'm Joe Bobby and I get signed to a record label, but the girl that's assigned to, you know, help market me doesn't like Joe Bobby's music at all, but it's her job and she's got to try to do it. But maybe there's not like 100% of her heart and soul behind old Joe Bobby. You know what I mean? So we can at least go out and try to hire the people that are passionate about us and that we know are going to go out there and you know, really go for the throat.
When you think about writing, collaborating with others, producing, how does that help you evolve as an artist?
Well, I mean, it's exciting for me to experience other artists' creative, just like sort of their habits and their ways of getting from A to B. Like my wife will approach recording a song differently than I will, and so getting to get in there and go, how can I assist? How can I be of service here to this song getting across the finish line? It's fun. And for me, it's, I've always felt like a student of music. You can never master the guitar. You can never master songwriting. You can never master recording. It's, I just love learning and getting to work with new people. Like this artist, Frankie Ballard, I'm working with. I mean, the dude's like, he's incredibly talented and he's a total nutcase. Like, I love it. I'm so inspired being around him because he's super off the wall and like he can hardly do a vocal without clapping and doing this thing. So it's like, how do I record this vocal to where I can keep some of his personality and nonsense in there? It's because it's great. And it's what excites me about him, because you can hear his personality and just, I don't know. It's been fun for me to learn to pay attention to some of these things that seem like kind of silly and to go, well, that's the thing that excites me about him. So I should pay attention to that. And it's just helped me to start analyzing what I'm moved by. And I can start doing that in myself as well. And also, this is another thing, especially working with my wife, she'll sing something and it'll be the most like brilliant vocal I've ever heard. And she'll be like, let me do it again. And I'll almost feel insulted sometimes. I go, why would you do that again? Don't do it. Don't do it. And, I think about all the producers that have ever, just wanted to kill me when I'm like, give me another pass. Cause it's so easy to get zoomed in when you're the artist and it's your thing and you're close to it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't know. It's just, I'm so fascinated by it. And at this point in my life, just completely excited by it.
As far as the band goes, kind of same question, but with the band, when you think back of the music, especially with this album now, where has the band evolved the most?
That's a good question. I mean, I would like to think that the songwriting is always evolving. I mean, we've, Graham and I are both guitar players, but we try to pick and choose our moments and being a huge fan of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, one of my favorite things about Mike Campbell is how the guitar it's always serving the song. So with this record, we did try to serve the song, I mean, Caleb played some of the coolest drum stuff I've ever heard him play on this album. And I think that, especially on some of the rootsier stuff, it took a lot of restraint, because like, just because you have a bag of tricks doesn't mean you need to dump the bag on the table. And, on a song like Tennessee, where it's a live vocal and a live guitar, and I'm sitting merely feet away from the drums, everyone's kind of got to mix themselves to a certain extent. So that was exciting, but also just not having a like a producer steering the ship. We all kind of had to step up and fight to make the songs the best that they could be.
As far as that writing goes, and as far as that evolution goes, I always think it's important for an artist to keep evolving, because we keep evolving as people, right? So you're going to naturally evolve if you're a musician or an artist. Your art's going to evolve as you evolve as people. And, with different perspectives and different ways of doing things. You mentioned your collaborations and how you see other artists work. Is it for you guys? Obviously, you want to stay within the Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown realm. I don't want to use the word boundaries, because it shouldn't have any boundaries, but there is a sound, right? How do you maintain coming from the rock record Pressure into this, which is more of a roots record, still maintaining the Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown sound?
Well, I think a lot of that just kind of happens naturally because it's us, it's my voice and my guitar playing, and it's Caleb's drumming and Graham's playing, and our ideas, once you kind of mix all that up together, it just kind of sounds like us. Like a lot of these songs, once I started writing them, like the song Roots, for example, when I started writing that song, it didn't sound quite like it does on the record. Like it didn't have any edge to it. It just, I liked the lyrics, and I liked the way the lyrics made me feel. And so I'm strumming it on an acoustic guitar, and Caleb's going, doesn't sound like us, man. Doesn't sound like us. And I was like, well, it's not us. It's me on an acoustic guitar. It's not us yet. How do we make it us? And kind of having that. And so then I'm like a little pissed off that he's saying, doesn't sound like us, man. So I set an amp down next to his drum kit and play it with me. And then next thing you know, there's the old Shakedown, and it just falls into place so naturally. And there were countless songs on the Pressure record like that too, where, on that record, those songs were all kind of demoed out pretty extensively. And you end up with these demos, and you can get really confused by that when you're like, it doesn't sound like something the band would do, because it's not the band. It's like me kind of with like some programmed drums or something that I made in a hotel room somewhere, and then an idea, and then the band takes it and it comes to life. But it's easy to get discouraged whenever you're just, sometimes it's hard even for me to hear through an idea, and just you gotta do it. With the Pressure record, there was so much jamming, where if something wasn't working, we would just jam until it kind of found its groove. And this whole record was just about finding the groove and following it.
You mentioned the last time we spoke, the Pressure album was recorded kind of in a bubble, where you guys, with everything going on in the world, you guys just kind of went down in the studio and recorded, and just kind of got lost in the music.
Yeah.
Coming out of that, now with this album, was there that same bubble created, or was there more, I don't know, maybe relaxed isn't probably the right term, but more maybe of a open atmosphere?
It was certainly open to kind of whoever would come and hang out. I feel like after the Pressure record, I don't know if I ever left the bubble. Whenever we would go out and play some shows and stuff, but then I would come home, because the thing that the Pressure record did for me was it opened my mind to the possibility of being able to record anytime I wanted to, because we made that record at home. But I didn't have any gear. That record was recorded very minimally, and just using like some Universal Audio, equipment. And after that, I was like, well, I always have a need to record. I'm married to someone that always has a need to record. I'm going to start investing in all the stuff that I ever wanted in the studio, because I constantly need to make recordings, and I constantly have to give my money to people to help me make these recordings. And so I kind of just took a leap of faith in myself and started buying stuff. And just after the Pressure record, every day just sitting down here tweaking with stuff and figuring out what I really liked sonically, learning what different microphones did, learning what different pieces of gear did, reading, listening to people that I respect, and just trying to learn as much as I could. And a lot of that, it's sort of like in a band, we joke about it. You can rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, but once you have to do a show, that's whenever something becomes like solid in your mind. Once there's people in front of you and they're rabid and they want you to win. And right after we finished the Pressure record, I recorded this covers record for Larkin Poe called Kindred Spirits. And I was really proud of how that turned out, and just started kind of kicking around the idea of like, I think I can do this. I think I can do this. And my bandmates were super supportive, and they would indulge me when I'd be like, can you come over and hit these drums for me? Cause I can't watch the meters if I'm hitting the drums. And then next thing you know, it's like, well, why are you hitting the drums? What's the song? And so that's always like the end goal, is to tinker with sounds until you have a song.
When you look at each album in the past, all those albums have a story behind it that you guys can reflect on if you so choose. What do you think the story will be on this album when you look back on it a couple of years from now?
Well, I think the story from this album, at least the feeling that I get would be this is whenever the Shakedown took their career back. That's the feeling I get is, and I think that from the jump, we knew that we were going to independently release this record. And so there was a certain feeling of having even more skin in the game, because if it doesn't work, it's 100% on us, and I think that definitely sort of little fire under us, but it was just fun. We always have fun when we're jamming together, and there were a lot of late nights, a lot of laughs, and I think you can hear that in the record.
Each album, each record takes on its own energy, right?
Yeah, totally.
And it's kind of exciting. And even as a fan listening to your music or other artists' music, you can kind of feel a different energy from album to album, which is it's its own unique journey in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things I love about it, though. It's like you can hear, I think about Tom Petty, and you can hear where he was at in all of those albums, and this is just a snapshot of where the Shakedown is right now.
Tyler, it's been a blast chatting with you, man.
Always a blast chatting with you, dude.
Everyone, that's Tyler Bryant of Tyler Bryant The Shakedown. Get their new album, Shake the Roots, out September 9th. Can't wait for you all to hear it. It's a great album, great return to roots, hence the name of the album. There's some rockers on there too, so you will not, if you're looking for that, you will find it. So be excited about that. I'm Jay Scott. This is The Hook Rocks. Take care of each other. We'll talk soon. Thanks.
Give me a jar of that lightning strike. I like my love like a barroom fight. Ain't none watered down. Got the tail of the tiger, you can't change the stripes. Double the trouble at just half the price. Ain't none watered down. Gonna warm my bones. She's sweet but Lord, she's bitter. Ice cold but she goes down hot. Hellbound and she's taking me with her. Ain't none watered down. Not one drop. A spirit river wash me away. Shiver when I hear your name. Ain't none watered down.
The most memorable gifts aren't found, they're made. Zazzle is a custom marketplace where you pick any product, a mug, a card, a tote, a phone case, and make it personal. A photo, a name, an inside joke. The kind of gift that actually fits the person. That's what 30 million customers have been coming back to Zazzle for over 20 years to find. Right now, save 25% on your first order at Zazzle.com. That's Zazzle.com. Make it zamazing.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Few things are truly timeless, because to last, you can't stand still. That's the beauty of Michigan. You can feel it everywhere. Like a fresh breeze on a riverfront stroll, or how the nightlife hums with electricity. Like an old friend with new stories to tell. So let the excitement bring you back and bring you together, season after season, in pure Michigan. Find your season at Michigan.org.